So it looks like Smallrig have updated their matte box with a pro version, and this time it came with this. Gabby here from Ray Studios, and today I'm going to be taking a closer look at the Smallrig Matte Box Pro and the 4565 ND filters. First, let's do a quick unboxing. Let's begin with the mini matte box. Immediately as we open the box, there it is, and it's incredible how light this feels. More on that later. If we keep digging into the box, we can see that we have a few rings. So this will be adapted to different lenses that you might have. There is in total 4 of them. So there is plenty of adaptability. The ND came in this box that offer a lot of protection, and each ND came on an individual box. And each came with its own plastic case for carrying it around. And you can tell this is premium quality. Here it is, the Maxbox Pro, but before I go ahead, let me show you how I mount this on my Canon EOS R6. The process is rather simple. You need to choose the right ring for your lens. In this case, I choose the 77mm, that's a filter thread on my Canon 24-105. Then you're gonna mount the Maxbox Pro, adjust accordingly. Basically, that's about it. Now we're gonna mount the ND filter into the ND tray. And as you can see, it's also pretty easy. This looks very nice. Then we have to open here the wings on the top of the barn door. And you get this very professional looking setup. So here it is, my cinema rig. This is how it looks like with all my other accessories mounted on my Canon EOS R6, and this is basically a pretty comprehensive cinema camera. I mean, I got 4K, 60 frames per second, 10-bit 4:2 with some of the highest quality ND, and it looks really nice as well. So when you're doing a professional job, you know, customers, your client will look at you and they will think that you're doing a good job. I guess sometimes image doesn't matter, and when you have this mounted on your camera, it makes your camera looks better and more professional. Now let me quickly switch the camera that is recording me to the Canon EOS R6 that I have right now in my hand, so you can take a look at how this filter looks like when it comes to color casting and sharpness. So I'm going to start without ND filter, and then I'm going to switch to the Smallrig ND filter, and then to some other ND filters, so you get a reference. I am now shooting with the Canon EOS R6 at 4K 24 frames per second, and I have set the white balance to manual, and I use a 70% grayscale target to make sure that I'm very accurate. This is a standard color profile on my Canon camera, which means what you see is what you get. I'm not color grading this footage, so it can be very accurate once I start using different filters. So I'm gonna quickly mount the matte box with the 0.6 filters, and let's see how that looks like. I am now using the Maxbox Pro with all the barn doors fully open, so that should probably improve contrast, mostly in situations where there is sun. Here at the studio there is no sun, so I guess it won't be much of a difference. But I'm also using the ND 0.6, which means I should be able to get somewhere around 2 stops of light that is being filtered right now. So I'm raising the ISO, and I'm doing that because I want to keep the f1.4 so you get the same depth of field that I had before. Now I'm going to quickly switch to the other filter. I am now shooting with the ND 1.2 that, if I'm not mistaken, is 4 stops of light that is being reduced by these filters, and I have to keep bumping up the ISO. Right now is ISO 4000. So without any filter was ISO 400. With the first filter was ISO 1200, I think, and now we are already at ISO 4000. So I was keeping the f1.4. So if there is any vignetting, you will be easier to spot at wide open aperture. Now, just for comparison's sake, I'm gonna get my black and white B&W ND filter is a BND, so it's a variable ND filter, and that's probably one of the best in the market today. It's a BND 225, and I'm gonna set it up at 2 and at 4 so you can compare and see if there is any difference. I am now shooting on the black and white B&W BND, so that's variable ND filter, and I have set it to 2 stops. So that should be able to match the 0.6 ND filter of the Smallrigs. And yeah, I have the ISO at about the same, and I can see in the monitors that it looks more or less okay. I am now gonna step up to 4 stops of light and see how that looks like. I am now shooting at 4 stops of light reduction with the black and white filter, and just for your reference also, so it will be interesting to use the KNF variable ND filter. This is BND plus polarizer, but the polarizer is super soft. I always wanted to do a review on this, but don't have time. Let me switch filters and you can get a look at this. This is now the KNF concept variable ND plus polarizer, and I gotta say, not that bad for a very affordable BND. This is performing not bad, but you can see there is a lot of vignetting and there is a bit of color casting in this one, but it's not that bad. I'm now shooting with just my lens, no filter whatsoever, and the ISO have came down to 400, so it should look pretty good now. One thing that I want to show you is that if you have 2 trays on the Maxbox Pro, the top barn door will not close properly. So basically, the one thing that is pretty cool about it is that you can stack trays into either the Maxbox Pro or the original Maxbox, but in both of these you cannot put more than 1 tray and then close the top barn door. I feel like, considering that the side barn doors is basically one of the main features for the Maxbox Pro, they should have made that top barn door move a little bit forward so it can close having 2 trays. So, you know, it's cool that you can have multiple trays, but it would have been nice if you could have that top barn door closing with the side doors and with the ND filter on it. So if I only have the ND filter, it properly closes and it looks very nice. And it's also, look, I wouldn't mind having that ND filter living in the Maxbox, since, you know, some people may should always do it in daytime, so could be useful, I guess. It's always better to have the ND filters on their carrying cases, which offer a lot of protection, and these things aren't particularly cheap, but compared to some other 4565 filters, they're somehow affordable, and consider how good they are, I think they're pretty well priced. So, by the way, if you want to see the 2 boxes together, here they are. Maxbox Pro on the right, original Maxbox on the left. So the one thing that it changed is, before we only had this top barn door, so just 1 flap to cover some of the light coming from the sun, from the top. And now what we have with the Maxbox Pro is that the top flap can expand. The system is actually pretty smart. There it is. So you can cover a lot more light. Let's put it there in focus. I know, manual focus, no, I forgot that. We can set it there. And now we also have this extra tray that apparently they do not sell as an accessory. Let me mount this up. And we have side bundles, so it should drastically improve the contrast, and in some situations if that's what you need, well, this is the way to get it. So in conclusion, I highly recommend this Maxbox. I like the original one, and the Pro one, well, it got a lot better. And when it comes to the ND filters, it's simple. They're just very high quality 4565 ND filters. They're professional level, and to be honest, I don't think they're too expensive. I mean, they usually are more expensive than standard like circular ND filters, but you know, this is more on the professional side of filmmaking. It costs a little bit more, but they're just so good, very high quality. If you like any of these products and you decide to buy it, please do so from the links in the description down below. And if you enjoyed this video, you can thank me with a sub and a like, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.